Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. I want to thank you for being with us. Breaking news tonight. 6 months of searching comes to a screeching halt. DNA confirms tiny skeletal remains discovered just 15 homes from the Anthonys are those of little Florida girl, Caylee.
There is some dispersion of the skeleton remains over an area. A large percentage of the skeleton is recovered. That's why we said for a child, some of the bones are tiny. All the bones are not developed. They're in pieces because of the way a child develops. And so there are numerous more. A child skeleton has many more bones than an adult skeleton. Some of the bones are tiny, as big as a pebble, and some of these have been recovered.
This would be a police chief's or a sheriff's nightmare case, and it's got tremendous media exposure. I think there's been an open wound in the community, and I believe we can start putting some closure to those open wounds. And having a kid at, I've raised 2 girls. Goodness gracious. As Steve Iverson said from the FBI, bottom line is, folks, no child should have to go through this.
What a day. Straight out to Mark Williams joining us tonight. Mark, bring us up to date.
Nancy, of course, big news this afternoon. The news we were hoping to hear, but we really didn't want to hear, was the remains found last week by a meter reader are those of 2-year-old Caylee Anthony, found in her neighborhood, literally 15 doors away from where the remains were found. This afternoon, Dr. G, the Orange County medical examiner, said those are the remains of those of Caylee Anthony. There was no trauma to any of the bones, and the remains were identified through DNA and the profile of little Caylee Anthony.
What do we know about the reaction of grandparents George and Cindy Anthony?
Well, right now, what we know is that their attorney, Brad Coleman Conway, held a news conference just a couple of minutes ago. He said the Anthonys are grieving right now. They hope no other parents or grandparents ever have to go through like this. Their pastor, Shane Stutzman, is with them right now at their house out in Hope Spring Drive.
I want to go out to Mike Brooks, former Fed with the FBI. We understand that the meter reader, sources say that he says this bag is the same one he saw back in August. Response.
I tell you what, he spoke out today, and he says he's nothing but a concerned citizen. But, Nancy, I have a real problem. There were 3 calls, at least 2 calls for police service, and 1 call into a crime line. Now, the one that bothers me is August 13th. There were calls on August 11th, 12th, and 13th. What they need to do, what the Orange County Sheriff's Department needs to do, they need to talk to Mr. Crunk. Get the recording when he called into the communications division, find out what time the call was dispatched, what time the deputy arrived there, and he met with him. Now, I want to know what he told the deputy, and did the deputy investigate the report of the bag? Did he point it out to him? And after the end of every call for police service, Nancy, you come back with a disposition. Either it's 10-8 no report, you get a report, or they type something into their onboard computer. They need to find out exactly what that is. To
Drew Petromo, WDBO. Drew, it seems to me that reports have surfaced today explaining the entire thing very well. What have you heard?
Are you talking about that last meeting right there?
I'm talking about the meter reader's 3 tips about the same bag.
Right, well, really the million-dollar question, what happened on that 3rd day, like Mike was just talking about, when that meter reader met with the cop out at the site? That is the one unanswered question. Sheriff Kevin Berry said today that they will conduct an investigation into that, but didn't really say exactly what happened. Did they go into the woods? Did he point out that exact bag? These are all questions that are going to come from an internal investigation that the Sheriff's Office is conducting within their department. To our producer, Natisha Lance, standing by the location where little Caylee's remains were discovered. Natisha, reports are surfacing that out of the 3 calls, there was 1 day where the police came and the utility meter was there, and the police officer said, hold on, I'll go search, and was scared away by a rattlesnake who was there in the underbrush. What do you know?
That's correct, Nancy. According to some reports that are out there, there's one report that says there was a rattlesnake that both the utility worker and the deputy saw, and the deputy said, "You stay back here since there's a rattlesnake. I'll go in there and check it out." And then there's another report that says that the deputy went into the woods, was scared off by a snake, came back out and said, "Oh, there's nothing back there. It's all clear." And like Drew was just saying, this is under investigative review, and they are administrative review, excuse me, and they are looking into it. Now, the other thing that's interesting, Nancy, is that second call that came in, they didn't even come out here. It went to the Criminal Investigation Division. A detective looked at it and said, "We've already had cadaver dogs out in that area. There's nothing back there." So all these things, all these answers need to be, all these questions need to be answered.
We are taking your calls live. Today marks the end of 6 months since little Caylee was last seen alive. DNA testing from the FBI lab, Quantico, Virginia, confirms remains found just 15 houses away from the Anthony's home are those of little Caylee. Since that time, grandparents George and Cindy have been in seclusion in their home. We know their pastor's car has been parked there in the driveway of the home. We are taking your calls live. Let's unleash the lawyers. Gloria Allred, victims' rights attorney out of L.A., Joe Episcopo, renowned trial attorney out of the Tampa area, and Pamela Hayes, a defense attorney, a courtroom veteran, joining us out of New York. Gloria Allred, who cares? What difference does it make if the cop didn't see the bag, if he did see the bag, if a rattlesnake scared him? What difference? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Long story short, they didn't see it when they followed up on the tip. They see it now. It's the same bag in the general location as before, and it's Caylee.
Well, the fact is, Nancy, for the defense, this is going to be the gift that keeps on giving, because what they're going to do is, of course, demand that the investigation be investigated, which is already going to be done, according to the sheriff. But then when it comes to the trial, they're going to continue to raise doubts. Doubts about when the bag was there, did anybody tamper with the bag afterwards, how long has Caylee been in the bag, who might have placed her in the bag. That's what's going to happen.
You know, out to Joe Episcopo, joining us there in Florida. Joe, listen, these are the same officers that have been on their hands and knees for 8 days looking for undeveloped bones of little Caylee. I just am not falling in line with the dereliction of duty by that sheriff that went out there.
Well, if you're crawling around on your hands and knees, why are you going to be scared by a snake? No, you know, this is two things for the defense. One, a new suspect, Mr. Kronk, and two, botched police investigation, which you know was a major factor in OJ's acquittal.
Stop everything. Put him on the air. You're saying on national TV that Kronk, who called the police, not once, not twice, 3 times, called the police to report this bag, is a suspect. Do you really believe a defense attorney in his or her right mind would jump up and say that to a jury? You've got to be kidding me.
Of course they're going to do it. They're going to do it from every angle.
Yes, they will lose all credibility, Pam Hayes, if they come up with that argument. Pam Hayes, answer.
You gotta investigate the case. I don't know what the defense is going to be.
You argue that, and you're all looking at the death penalty.